Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Uncharted 4 Crushing Difficulty walkthrough, and this is chapter 19, also known as Avery's Descent. And much like the movie The Descent from 2005, this also takes place in a big cave system. But fortunately for us, we will not have to fight against bat people monsters. But instead we're gonna have to fight against the paranoid mind of a pirate that has been dead for hundreds of years. Because the descent in this game means that Henry Avery went from being a well-respected pirate into becoming what the psychiatrists call mad as a hatter. Towards the end of his life, his paranoia got the best of him, and he started decorating this cave in quite morbid ways, and also filled it with booby traps. And this chapter is at times very challenging due to a big fight coming up, and also some of these booby traps are a bit unfair at times. There is one room towards the end of this chapter which, in my opinion, is complete bullshit. But I'm gonna talk a bit more about that later. One thing I need to address here at the start is that the editing here may seem a little bit choppy at times, and there are a few reasons why, and I'm gonna go into that right now. I have trimmed out a few bits here at the beginning because sometimes Nate's flashlight goes out, and it stays out for a little while. And he searches for matches, and I think he tries to light Sam's lighter. And that is all stuff that you don't need to see in this walkthrough. It just takes up time. And also I ran into a little snag when I was recording this. Because when I play on my PlayStation 4, I always use a Razer Raiju Pro gaming controller that I got from my girlfriend for my birthday last year. Very kind. I'm actually going on my second Razer Raiju right now because I managed to wear out the first one in 4 months. And I don't know if that's from excessive gaming on my behalf, or maybe I just got a shitty one. You know, one of those, as you can call them, or as we call them in Sweden, Monday examples. You know, when people are coming into work, they are hungover, still from the weekend, being out drinking tequila, eating chili dogs, hate everything, including their boss and their work, and they just start doing shitty products. But either way, I was playing this game with my Razer, and in this cave, when Nate's flashlight starts giving out, you're supposed to shake the gamepad for it to work again. He rattles the batteries around. For some reason that works. God knows why. It's one of those things that only works in video games as far as I know. But something I realized with the Razer was the fact that when you shake that gamepad around, the game doesn't react. It doesn't. I don't know what it is in the normal controller that the game reacts to. I guess it is a motion sensor in it, so it tracks the fact that you are moving it up and down, so it takes that as you shaking it, and that will get the function to work that is programmed into the game. But apparently this super expensive, because it is a really expensive gamepad, I think it cost around $150, $160. It cost 1,700 crowns when my girlfriend bought it for me. She's super kind. I must say that. She's absolutely the best woman I could ever be with, because she is as nerdy as I am, and she understands that nerdiness is sometimes costful or costly. But anyways, so I had to pause the game and unplug my Razer controller and play with a normal gamepad just so I could get that function to work. So that was why it may have seemed a little bit choppy at the beginning. But I've been ranting on about that for so long, so I have not started talking about these exploding mummies, which are the main booby traps in this big cave. And here at the beginning they are quite easy to avoid. The first ones you see, the game will prompt you to press circle and a direction. I think it wants you to press down so you will roll towards the screen and get away from it. And here it is really easy, no problem at all. The only problem I have with it is the fact that it seems, at least, that the shoreliners have gone the same path that we are doing. And those guys aren't really famous for being subtle or being careful. Remember when we were in Scotland in chapters 8 and I think 9, maybe? Either way, these are the kinds of guys that do archaeology with C4. And is this game telling me that they managed to get through these caves without setting off these mummies? That is one of those because video game moments. And I don't completely agree with that, actually, but it would be a lot less challenging if they had set them off, and probably we would never see this giant fight that we are now engaged in. And when I watched this video before I started to narrate it, I saw that I have an ARX 160, I think this rifle is called, and I have 2 Burroks. Apparently I picked up 2 Burroks in the previous chapter. You know, I trimmed out me picking up weapons. So I have 12 Magnum bullets, which is absolutely awesome. Something that is a little bit less awesome is the fact that my aiming is at times really shitty in this fight. Just wasted a bullet right there. And that was just bullshit. That too. That was me being trolled by bad hit detection twice in less than 30 seconds. Not cool, not okay. But in this fight, make sure to use your Magnum bullets as best you can, and also the ARX. There is a hugger in this fight, one of those gas mask guys that I talked about in, I think it was part 1 of chapter 18. Be very aware of that guy. He'll rush you. If you're standing in here where I am, he's already dead right now, but if he rushes you in here, you should be able to take him out before anyone else comes around the corner and sodomizes you. But he can put a quick stop to this. So be careful. Always be very aware whenever there are huggers around, because they will always rush you. And here we see an example. I have mentioned throughout this walkthrough that I really dislike the fossa. And here we can see just how shitty a gun this is. Because I am more or less spraying that guy over there with bullets. Some of them miss, I'll admit that. But quite a few of them make contact. He may be a heavy, but either way, I should have actually counted how many bullets I put into him. I think it was around 20 or 25 before he went down. And that is so not okay. That is why I will always think that fossa is a shit weapon. Whenever you can, stay away from it. And also a tip I want to give you in this fight. If you find weapons that are really good, I think there are a few copperheads and also a few ARX 160s. Try to not use them in these fights. And that is a really weird thing to say, but this is the only combat you will see in this chapter. And in the next chapter, there is The biggest fight in the game, the fight that has become legendary, the ship graveyard. The one that has probably stopped quite a few crushing runs of this game. I know I struggle on it. I think that a lot of people will struggle on it and have struggled on it. And whatever weapons you have at the end of all this combat, this giant fight which consists of multiple waves of enemies, is the weapons you will bring into that fight. So I recommend try to not use the ARX if you can, because it is a beast of a weapon. And if you can bring that with as many bullets as possible, I'm wasting them being a complete idiot. Didn't think about it when I recorded this. I didn't think about it. But a good thing about my walkthroughs is the fact that whenever I make a mistake, I make it work. Because that's what I have to do. I have to make it work. But also, when I make a mistake, I can tell you about what the mistake was and how you can avoid doing the same mistake I did. And that, I think, should be the purpose of a good walkthrough. And after you get through that first wave of enemies, you reach a checkpoint here. There are 2 enemies behind this wall that will rush you. And you need to be very careful, because when you go down, you will spawn in several more enemies. And when you, or if you retreat into this room, or whether you retreat into this room or not, there will be one guy that spawns in behind you. So as soon as you see them going in, if you run back here, you will run straight into the arms of one guy there. I have no idea where he was during the first part of this battle. But he always spawns in at the same time as the second wave of guys down there, so be aware of him. He is also one of those guys that can put a quick stop to a successful run if you're not aware that he's coming. And if you stay down there trying to be aggressive, he will sneak up behind you and start molesting you from behind, and that is never pleasant. Molestation is a really bad thing and you should avoid it at all times. But I think this has taken care of most of the enemies, at least. I was being very careful here because I wasn't quite sure how many enemies were left, and I definitely wasn't sure if they were gonna rush me or not. Because in all these fights in these games, there are always a few of the enemies will rush you and some of them will just stay back, hide behind cover and wait for you to come to them. And if you don't know exactly which ones will rush you and how many they will be, it can be a little bit finicky. But it took me a few tries to get through this fight actually, because it is very hard. It is quite a small area and there are a lot of enemies. But if you bring the right tools to the job, you always do, or you can put the odds in your favor. But now we have 2 fellas left down here. And if you may remember, in my previous video I talked about the fact that you have to hide behind a crate at one part, or you have to hide from I think it's an ultra heavy that has he has a rifle about the size of Arkansas, or it feels like that, and all you can do when he shows up is hide. And you have to hope that the game is merciful. And that is also one of those things I don't agree with. Because there is nothing you can do to kill him. Because if you try to kill him, you will just waste your bullets, because he will walk towards you, he will start spraying his rifle, and he will trigger one of those mommy bombs, let's call them that. And that will kill him. But I have died quite a few times because it is one of those moments that is a bit RNG based. Because it's not entirely scripted that you will survive his onslaught of bullets. And that is so... in my opinion, that is really, really cheap. Because when the game puts you in a position where you can do fuck all about your situation, then at least the game should be lenient enough for you to survive it. It shouldn't be a dice roll. And it may be that I have died due to a glitch. It could be that. Because I've mentioned that in chapter 17? 15? I think it's chapter 15. When you open that door and the grenade throws out... when a grenade throws out. When a grenade flies out. And that grenade is completely scripted. There is nothing you can do about it. And Nate is supposed to survive it. On my recording run, I actually died once to that grenade. That is something I've talked about before. And I checked my hard drive and realized I still have the video where that happened. So after this walkthrough is done and completely uploaded, I'm gonna cut that out and put that up as a little bonus video. I've done that previously with both in The Last of Us, where I did a little video on the absolute cheapest death I have ever suffered in that game, a death I didn't even know you could do. Or I died because of circumstances that I wasn't aware of. And also in Uncharted 2, when you're fighting in a monastery, there is a place where the game suddenly just went into black and moved me to another position. Extremely weird. But anyway, here is the spot I'm talking about. Because he is blasting my crate. He starts firing at me. And as I said, I have died right there and then. Because the crate disintegrated too fast. And you see when he's shooting at you after the crate breaks. I tried rolling in behind a cliff, hoping that would cover me from the bullets. But I have died right there. And that is a really cheap death. Not okay with that at all. And at the beginning of this video, I talked about that some of the booby traps are a bit unfair. And we are very soon coming up to the room I was talking about. Because there is a place here where I died, I don't know how many times, actually. And it's an entire room that's filled with those mummy bombs. And it's behind this door, I think. Because this first roll you have to do, you saw a weird transition there, is very exact, it seems. Because you're supposed to head into this little alcove on the left. And you have to roll in. Don't roll completely in. Just stay at the middle of that slope. Because if you roll too short, the first mummies are gonna kill you. If you roll too far, the second mummies are gonna kill you. So you have to find that sweet spot where you end up quite close to the first mummy bombs, not close enough for them to kill you, but close enough for them to put you more or less into critical, and then you can roll back and stay away from the blast radius of the second wave of mummy bombs. And in this video it looks really simple. No problem at all, just do a few rolls, stay clear, nothing happens. And I don't think I'm lying if I say that it took me 10 or 15 tries. My girlfriend could probably agree to this, because I remember I was swearing and screaming and threatening this game and calling the good developers at Naughty Dog all kinds of stuff, because I got really pissed, I got really frustrated. Because it is also one of those unfair bullshit moments, because your placement during that first roll needs to be a hell of a lot more exact than I think is fair.
definitely descending.
But anyway, we have gotten through the hard parts of this level now. And now we're going into the second platform puzzle.
Yeah, no footprints.
And these platforms are booby-trapped. The different symbols in the middle of these squares of 4. They have different locations where the bombs are placed underneath them. You can look at Nate's map to see which way you're supposed to go or how you're supposed to move across these platforms. I tried to keep the flares so you would see what symbols are in the middle and what path I took. It's always a bit hard with these really dark levels, because something that has happened to me before, sometimes when I do a commentary over a really dark level, happened to me during The Last of Us when you're in a school and you're in those corridors. I was more or less commentating blind, because in the preview window in my editing program I couldn't see shit. But when I uploaded it to YouTube, everything was really clear. You could see everything great. And I've started editing my Metro 23 Redux walkthrough for the good ending and also a few stealth trophies in that game. And I cranked up the gamma to max, just because that is a really dark game. Really low light setting. So I hope it will look good when I start uploading those videos to YouTube. Maybe it will look really bright and everything will look really light, was what I was gonna say. But hopefully some of the mood will still be there. And this last part is just run. Jump over these logs and you have completed chapter 19, and it's time to brace yourself because we are heading to the ship graveyard. So I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.